recording hasn't started yet. Oh, sorry, now it did, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is the CHEK Change Management Assistant, is the CHEK digital assistant supported by artificial intelligence that we built to help principally public bodies and municipalities to map their process, assess the maturity of their process, and then build a roadmap that will help them to through their digital building permit transition path. So what the user can do is just create an account, log in, preferably to start the process, can also provide a short description for their process, and then immediately can start building their process map in the BPMN. The tool supports bpmn.io. And provides the user with a template that can immediately start editing to according to their process. What is maybe a novelty in this case is that the tool provides access to a chat we call it IntelliCheck, that guides the user throughout the process mapping to name correctly the actions of the process map, and ask the user for the necessary information that the tool needs to do then the maturity assessment of the process. As soon as the user has finished building the process map, then from then on, everything is quite automatic because the tool automatically assesses the maturity of the process and then builds a roadmap for the user to have it during their transition process in their municipality or public body where they are operating. This video is also publicly available. You can find it in YouTube. The link is already in the chat, but will also be in the presentation that we will share with you later. So in this moment, you can see that the CHEK assistant already did the maturity assessment according to the process that the user built, and also compares it with the CHEK benchmarks. And based on that, we'll be advising the user what actions they should take to reach the desired maturity that in this case would be the CHEK benchmark. And there is also a report generated at the end. Yeah, so thank you for the attention. This was CHEK Digital Assistant. You will also have the link to have direct access to the tool and use an experiment with the tool if you wish.
Thank you very much, Oyola.
Thank you.
Then we continue with our next session. This session is about the integration between geographical information and BIM models, which was a key principle in our project to be able to do checks on the design in relation to the geographical context. And there's several project partners worked on this. In this session, we will have presentations on how to convert from BIM to Geo, the conversion from Geo to BIM, tools for IFC georeferencing, and also some tools for validation of geographical information. Here you see the list of speakers, and I would like to give the floor to Peter Bonsma from RDF, They were the work package leader of the GeoBIM interoperability solution. So, Peter, if you are ready.
I'm ready, thank you. I shared my screen, maybe I have to reshare. Let me try. Good morning, everybody. Just to start the presentation. So this is about GeoBIM interoperability solutions. And many of the building regulations are based on BIM and GIS data, and BIM and GIS data are although partly overlapping, quite different. So the first thing we need to understand how these two worlds interact. Next to that, we have applications that we are using within a project, and these applications are either focused on BIM or GIS, but they have their expectations. So one of the things that the applications expect is to use standards, and preferably open standards, and preferably standards that are widely accepted. And the nice thing is that we have both OGC and Building Smart as partners in the project, and they both organizations are hosting the most common open standards for BIM and GIS. So in this project, we're looking at IFC4 and CityGML. Further, if you look at applications, they either have a focus on BIM or a focus on GIS. Of course, there are exceptions, but in general, an application is either BIM focused and supports IFC, or it's GIS focused and supports GIS. That means in this project, we have chosen to make conversions that mean that the data that is really needed for the building regulations from the GIS sites in a BIM-oriented application should be able to read the GIS data like it was BIM data. So we made conversion from CityGML to IFC, so people can read the GIS data as it were BIM data, and the other way around. People can read the IFC data as it were GIS or CityGML data. The third part is the content expectation. So applications don't only support or expect a certain file, like an IFC4 file. They also expect to be able to do certain calculations or do certain work with the data. They expect certain structure of this data, certain contents available. Therefore, we have validation, both on the BIM part and the GIS part. Today, we will also show the validation from the GIS part. That means that you can validate, is this data that we're inputting correct, and is it enough for us to execute the building regulations? So we will show 4 different parts today in this session. The Geo to BIM conversion, what was part of Work Package 3. The BIM to Geo conversion, also part of Work Package 3. The GIS data validation, part of Work Package 2, but of course, Work Package 2 and Work Package 3, together with software vendors in Work Package 4, worked very closely together on these developments. And the georeferencing. So one of the things that is often missing in applications, BIM applications, is a proper georeferenced file. So the content is there, but often it's not in the right place. So one of the applications made by the TU Delft is a georeferencing tool that adds this correct georeferencing data to an IFC file. Let me start with the geo to BIM. So how do we go from CityGML to IFC4? When we started, GIS was quite new for us. So in our development together with partners, we first created the GIS library. And to do that, we created an ontology of the GIS data. And an ontology we can open in our existing tools. So we converted the GIS data, CityGML data, into an ontology. This ontology can then be visualized. So we see the geometry, but we see also all metadata available in the CityGML file. And then based on this library we developed the application that does the conversion. So it reads the GML file through the library and then exports an IFC file. It's a two-stage process. The first stage recognizes the levels of detail available in the CityGML or CityJSON file. And then it lets the user select, are we only exporting the highest LOD, or are we exporting a certain LOD, or are we exporting all LODs? In principle, we are exporting all properties available and all geometry available from the CityGML file. But often there are some extra settings available or needed. For example, if there's no color for certain concepts, like for example, there's no color for a roof, we can define a settings file that defines either if there's no color available, we give this color, or if there's no, or in any case, give this color to the roof. The same for the properties. So all properties are converted, but they are converted in a one-to-one manner. So the property that is named in the CityGML file with a certain name gets exactly the same name in the generated IFC file. Sometimes this is not what we want. Sometimes we want to do conversion, for example, to be closer to the standard property set in IFC, or to be closer to a certain IDS that we have to follow. So in this mapping file, you can define the mapping from certain properties in the CityGML to certain properties, how they should be named and converted into IFC. Everything that's not set is just converted one-to-one. As an end result, we are getting the CityGML file or CityJSON file as an IFC file. And here's an example of 3 IFC files loaded together in one viewer, where we have the model, the design that was designed in Revit and then exported as IFC. And we have the surrounding buildings that are generated in CityGML and converted to IFC, and then the floor, what becomes geo-referencing elements, geographic element. So this can not only be done in viewers, but also in the tools that have to do the validation. That means that the tools that have to do the validation, if they are focused on BIM, they can also include the GIS data and do the building regulations, calculate the building regulations based on BIM and GIS data. So for this conversion, I would like to give the floor to Jasper to explain the conversion the other way around.
Okay, can I share my screen, Peter?
Yeah, I think I need to stop sharing. Now
yes.
we should.
Let's take a look. There we go. Full screen. So can you all see my screen? Yes?
Yes, we can.
Good. So, well, hello, I'm Jasper van der Waard. I worked on the BIM to Geo conversion. because next slide, there we go. Because for this project and for certain rule checking, it will be nice to have the model in the actual like city environment. And of course, this can be done one-to-one. However, certain rules are more challenging to check on an IFC model in a GIS environment, and also being able to format compliant convert to a CityGML model or CityJSON model means that the use of the created models can be expanded. For example, aside from rule checking within this project, we could also do GIS scale analysis. And we can also use these created models to expand or to update existing GIS databases and models with more up-to-date data and even like future scenarios of buildings that are not yet realized. So to create this conversion, we developed two different software applications. We developed the main one, the envelope extractor, which converts a BIM model in the IFC encoding to a GIS model in the CityJSON encoding. And for that, and into that, we used a library called CGT, which translates basically 3D data in a C++ kernel, a C++ geometry kernel, Open Cascade, to JSON, to the CityJSON. They have been developed in tandem. So the tool that we developed basically creates a large set of different abstractions, which you can see looping here. Of course, for this project, it would have been, or would have been its desire to create an LOD3, an LOD 3.2, which has overhang windows, doors, and things like that. However, these models are geometrically fairly hard to make, and they also require a very well-constructed IFC model. Because this is not always the case, and because for certain analysis you could also use a more abstracted shape, we implemented a large set so that you could fall back on other outputs if the higher quality output is not per se required. So the application is a lot faster than doing it manual. You can see a comparison here between an old version of the tool and doing it by hand. I sped it up 5 times because, well, otherwise you can see doing it by hand takes quite some time. And also nice to know is that in this comparison, the extractor actually creates, I think, 6 different models. So it's 6 different abstractions of the same model, while the one by hand makes only an LOD 2.2. So even overhang and windows are not incorporated in this model that I'm making by hand. To use the tools, there are really 2 different ways to communicate. The easiest one is with a graphical user interface, which you can see on the left. This one exposes the, I think, most used settings to the user, and also the fairly easy ones to edit. So things like which LOD do you want to use, what height is the footprint elevation, which objects are considered part of the exterior of the building. And if you want to go more in depth, you can use a configuration JSON, which you can see on the right, which exposes the currently 29 different settings that are available. And this also enables the application to be more easily used within a larger software package or being called by other applications with like a preset, with preset settings. Not every setting has to be set manually. If you don't set certain things, the tool will approximate it itself, or it will just use a default value. And that's everything from my side.
Maybe a small clarification, one sentence, that this solution is connected in the backend of the virtual city system in VCMap plugin. So it's already used. You can check it from the latest presentation. Thank you, Esper.
Thank you very much. And then the next GeoBIM tool that we'd like to present that has been developed in the CHEK project is the IFC georeferencing solution. It was developed by Amir Hakim. So Amir, are you available to present what you developed in the CHEK?
Yes, I am. Okay, Just a moment.
Yeah, we see it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. It's great to again be connected with the CHEK project, my favorite one. Okay, I'm going to present about the IFC GREF, development of the IFC georeferencing tool. So the main background question and the challenge was the BIM environment and the geo environment. They are working separately in different coordinate reference systems. And there is a solution from IFC4 available for IFC map and this IFC map conversion in order to merge these two coordinate reference systems together. And we use different sources in order to solve this challenge. Basically, some information from the IFC model, the geo information that might be available in the IFC model, like true north, like some IFC site maybe attributes or IFC map conversion attribute. And also, it's possible to... Sorry, there is a mic on. And also,
I'm checking who that is.
no worries.
I don't see it anymore, so maybe it was already tuned.
I think it's resolved. Yes. Yeah. Then the other thing is the other source might be the server points added by the user to the system itself. And there we decided to go with different progress passes because of possibility of different information available. So it's possible to do the georeferencing based on existing information of your BIM model, or you can announce the georeferencing by adding survey points to that, or completely ignore what is existing, or it might be the case that your file is already georeferenced. So let's go through the demo together, just a quick one. So we developed a website that you can drag and drop your IFC model in a designated area. You can choose which CRS code you want to do the georeferencing, and you will receive the basic geo information from your IFC model, which is available. And then you can go with different options, basically, as I discussed earlier. So, for example, you can add a set of extra server points. Then there is a optimization, let's say, method happening in the background, and it's calculates your georeferencing values, and then you can visualize the outcome in your browser easily to see how it works with the world map or different OpenStreet 3D like this one 3D OpenStreetMap, or also the satellite map as well. And let's go back here. Yes, and I can say that. So the simplified workflow is how to. It goes with reading, validating, collecting files, and calculating the georeferencing values, and at the end visualizing the outcome of georeferencing. And I think it's really nice to mention that this tool was developed based on different feedback sessions, like the nice WP3 bi-weekly meetings that we had. We had some in-person meetings in Delft with, let's say, with industry partners. Most of the times architects from the CHEK project also review it and gave me the feedback, and also software developers, let's say, they were really helpful in order to solve the challenges of IFC georeferencing tool. And there were some changes. So the main, as also Jasper showed, the main user interface was completely different, and the thing that we chose to go with web platform in order to be used easily by everyone, or the UI completely changed, as I mentioned, supporting the 3D viewer and adding tutorials. It was something that came to us as the feedback, and now it's a tool that It's been referenced in different backgrounds and let's say workflows, as I can see. And it's a web-based tool. You can go use it online for sure. And it's let's say it's an open source code, so you can see the code itself as well. And that's it for me. I try to be as fast as possible.
Thank you very much. And there are links shared in the chat so that people can go there to see more about this solution. Then the final the presentation in this session is from Abdul Diakite. He has been working with Alper Akin from TU Delft and also Alejandro Villar on the validation of geo-information, a solution to that and an interface to the users. So Abdul, you already shared the screen? Great.
Okay, good. So can see my screen, right? And you can hear me well. Okay, good. So hi everyone, thank you. It's a pleasure to be in this session and in this whole workshop. So I will talk quickly about the GIS data validation workflows. And as Leontine mentioned, we have been few people working on it. So myself and Alejandro and Alper. And so where this work fits is at two different phases. First of all, at the pre-submission, where municipalities need to provide the context, the spatial context to the applicants. So they are expected to provide them with some GIS information. And in this project, it comes in the form of GeoJSON or CTGML or CTJSON. And these are the main standard, open standard for 3D city model in general. And not only there, also after the digital building permit process. So once the building is compliant, is constructed actually, and operated and has the authorization to be used, the applicants are also expected to provide that information back to the city so that the municipality can maintain an up-to-date 3D city model. So all these processes needs, of course, the GIS to be checked and made sure that the information that are needed for the DBP are always present in those GIS files. So the approach that was adopted in this project is this one. So RDF, which is Research Description Framework, which is a web semantic web standard, was adopted, and it helped to describe the semantic and metadata information in the city models generally as a graph. And for the constraints and the rules, the shackle, which is shape constraint language, was used, and it helped define the constraint basically that can be used to check if the RDF are compliant with the rules. And finally, the geometry and topology of the models are also checked. And in this case, it was done with the Val3DT tool, which is developed by TU Delft by Rodolju. And this is the very simplified workflow of the validation. So you get the input CTGML or CTJSON that is transformed into an RDF graph. And on the other side, you have the rule from the municipality, which we call profile in this case, that defines the rule that needs to be respected by the input files. And those two are, the RDF is checked against the shackle in the validation process. And with the Val3DT as well, you end up with a report that shows the compliance or the completeness of the file, as well as the validity of the geometry and the topology. So in terms of tools, actually we explored 3 different workflows. The main tool is actually the OGC CHEK default backend server, which was developed by Alejandro. And so this tool, it has a web page. It's like a web app basically, but it's mainly a backend service accessible through API that provide the basic rules, the basic tools that you need to do the checking. So you can import a model, you can select some profiles, you can import even several models. And once you perform the validation, you get the report as a JSON and some flags that tells you what has been wrong in the file. So that's simple, but it's a backbone of any validation process. So on top of that, for example, the tool of Alpha was built on top of that, and it explored a way that rely on the backend, another server. Let's say you have your own personal server, or there are some more heavy operations that you need to process on the file. Then you can install it on your server, and and next to that, you also have a viewer. So this tool provides a viewer, which is a 3 JSON viewer, 3JS. And it also lists a little bit in a more intuitive way the report. So these are two different ways of using the tool, and a third way is simply a fully client-side implementation. And this time, this process shows the connection to Beam server, which is where the models are stored. And you can connect to your Beam server and get the model and run the validation. So it calls the same OGC server. And this time there is a report viewer. So the shackle error are visualized, as well as the Val3D2 report, which are all already available, as an open source. And as an extra, you can click on the feature, zoom on them, and identify exactly where the problems are. So for example, this was something that doesn't have a geometry, it's flags, and it shows you in the report. And the report is very detailed, so you can really have all the details that you need, but it's mostly for geometry and topology. And finally, you can save the results back in your Beam server, so that you can retrieve it later on. So this demonstrates, okay, so that's, I had another slide with this with Swift Peter, sorry. But so this demonstrates 3 different ways of running the validation, but the principle is exactly the same. And I will share now within the chat. The other slide was some QR code, but I will share the links in the chat of all these 3 tools. So that's pretty much it for myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdul, and also to Alejandro Villar and Alper Akin, who you presented the work of. So that leads to the end of this session that presented the GeoBIM interoperability solution have been developed in the CHEK project. And now we continue with another panel session. And this one is on standardization actions, because also standardization has been a very important aspect in our project, as was already mentioned before. Standardization is needed to be able to communicate between the BIM world, the GIS world, and also the legislation in which the urban rules and the building code rules are defined. This panel will be chaired by Maite Toscane Dominguez. I think I don't pronounce it well, but I hope Maite can do a better job. She's a project manager at OTC, and I'm happy to give the floor to you, Maite.
You pronounce very well, Jantin. Thank you very much. Your Spanish is better than mine, so congratulations. I can share my screen quickly. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm project manager from OGC. I will to present this panel. I will present the panel from different people that come from several topics. One of the four is people that come from the standardization organizations. Okay. The second is people that come from sister project, and from the end, people that come from the developer side. So,
sorry, there's someone with the mic open. Who is that? Oh, now it's gone, maybe. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maite, you can go ahead. You're unmuted. You're muted now.
Okay, now?
Yeah, now we hear you. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. I will to present the speaker first, and then I will to ask the same question to them. I would like to listen the opinion from this important question. First of all, we have the panel from people that come from the standardization organizations. The first person that I will introduce you is Francesca Nuardo. Francesca is project manager at OGC. Yes, I am a very lucky person because she's my colleague. And before she was a research at Politecnico of Milano, of Torino, sorry. And she has been working in Delft University too, as Jantin presented before. She has a very involved in 3D spatial data interoperability and in the standardization about open standard in 3D models. And she leads the European Network from Digital Building Permits, and she has a lot of paper in this sector, and she's coordinate as well the CHEK project and contribute several European projects, and as well she's co-chair at the East First working group. Welcome, Francesca. The second speaker is Leon. Leon is the technical director of Building Smart International. She led the development and implementation of Open BIM standard. I think especially she's very involved in FEC model at that moment, the last version. And she's working out as well in trying to fill the gap within the technological and practical that the industrial needs. So welcome, Leon. First of all, I would like to ask to you, Francesca and Leo, the same question, because CHEK is closing, Accord is closing, and DigiCheck is closing. So, but the digital building permit journey is only starting. So, for your purpose about standardization organization, what is the next? What would you like to add about the important to be sure that in Europe the digital building permit journal will continue? First, Francesca, and then Leo.
Thank you, Maite, for the introduction and for the question. I think that from a perspective of a standardization organization, what is key in enabling the smooth workflows is certainly about the data, first of all, and the good use of standards for publishing and using such data. So for sure, open standards and standard data models and formats should be the first reference, but furthermore, also an agreed use of those standards because they tend to be quite comprehensive to accommodate the different use cases, as we know. So first requirement is the generation of and encoding and sharing of specific data requirements in profiles of standards that follow certain agreed and standardized methodology and can be used for data retrieval and for data validation, so that those data become the basis for absolutely reliable analysis and checks, and that they really make it possible to do such kind of checks and process it with digital tools. On the same part of the same issue are the publication of those data with proper metadata and lineage information and provenance and licenses. So all the corpus of metadata should be there for those data to be absolutely fair and rich, and also their quality and their details should be then cared and improved, but especially they need to be compliant to those data requirements and characteristics and semantics that should be totally explicit, standardized, and possibly also registered according to agreed procedures. So, for example, at the OGC, we are building the building blocks methodology and providing some concepts and tools for registering those profiles as building blocks. which are intended as modular components and reusable components which have an ID and therefore can support scalability very easily. And this is certainly true for the data, which are, again, the main point among mine that we should take care, because it's also a huge work to make all the data sets to be updated and also valid as the components. So all APIs and architecture components, if they are conceived as small, granular, and modular, they can then be registered through this approach and allow the architectures to be flexible enough to be adapted to the municipality's needs.
Yeah, thank you, Francesca. I think that the main challenge is the urbanistic planning data model, because we are no standardization at all. And I think that maybe, I don't know if you are agree with me, this profiling or building block can help with models that are no standards at all. So it's true that they can. Do you think that they can help to this enormous challenge?
Yes, of course, and indeed, standardizing the zoning information is an open challenge. So we could see some starting points in the Inspire data model, or in the land data model, the infra data model, or in the LADM or such. And we have national examples that are already working and can be reused. And analyzing them and modularizing and preparing them for reuse is certainly a good approach to do that.
Yeah, thank you, because I know that you did this enormous job to looking for Inspire for trying to standardization this information during the CHEK project, and I think it's a very good result from the project. So thank you. Leo, I would like to ask to you the same question. What is the next from the digital building permit in Europe, and how we can help with the standardization process in this digital building permit?
Yep. Yeah, if you ask the same question to two standardization organizations, you got the same answers, of course. So I agree with Francesca. There are a lot of standards. There's really good OGC standards, there's building smart standards, and I fully agree that it almost feels like it's never enough. There's still a lot of ambiguity in these standards and use cases, and I think what we've learned inside this project is that these user guidelines and these additional specifications for certain use cases are extremely important. So I think we're very aligned on that, and I think there's still a lot of work to do. I would say, in addition to that, from what I've experienced in both Accord and in CHEK, is that these standards still live in two very different worlds. So the presentation so far as well, there's a lot about IFC and IDS on one hand and OGC standards on the other hand. And there's a lot of energy into how do we get the standardized data on one side very reliably flown to a different standard on the other side. So I think from a building smart perspective, from a standardization perspective, the lessons that I've learned in these projects is that we have to look at how we can align OGC standards and building smart standards even better. I mean, on and this needs to be done on several levels. On the semantic definitions, we both, I think, refer to similar ISO standards for that. APIs is something where OGC is way ahead of building smart, where we really need to catch up and should learn from them. And yeah, as soon as you go into those nitty-gritty details, obviously there's a lot of technology challenges as well. Yeah, but I think from my perspective, having two really good standards that have proven to be useful in this project is nice, but it would be nice that we discuss this topic in 10 years and have one unified or integrated standard solution for this. That would be my dream.
I think that for the last version from ACC, one of the best things that they improve is the georeferencing part. It's true? Can you say something about this? Is the future from the digital building permit using dispersion from its AFC because it's better with the georeferencing part?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's improvements on every new release, of course, and indeed georeferencing has had quite some revision in IFC 4.3. But yeah, even when you look at what we're doing now in the IFC 5 alpha development, I think the way we're actually using OGC standards in the IFC 5 examples, instead of trying also to do georeferencing in an IFC way, we're actually using OGC standards in a JSON format. I think that's also a big step ahead of not trying to harmonize, but actually using each other's standards. So yeah, this linked data principle is also something that is helping us with that. So yeah, I think we're really on a path for a better future on this.
Thank you. I would like to jump to people that represent the sister project, Rita Lavica and Eduard Loskos. Rita is a research leader at about data-driven circular construction at the VTT, and she's leading more than 20 years experience in European projects about the digitalizations, decarbonization in the building environment. And she's currently the leader project of Accor. She have a lot of publication in digital constructions system, but included the best paper prize and recognition in 2018 when she gained the Emerald Literary Award. Welcome, Rita. For all people, it's Rita Lavica. For me, it's my Rita. It's a pleasure to have you here, Rita. The other speaker is our Eduard Losko. Eduard is president of Building Digital Twin Associations, manager at EDP Group. He's working like 20 years in European projects, across the technical buildings environments. He has honorary professor at Tunis University. As well, he's working in the CEN group, TC442. Yes, he's leading the Digital Twin Association in this moment. Welcome, Rita, and welcome, Edward. I don't know if Edward is here because he's in the airport. Thank you.
I am. I don't know about the quality of sound, but I am.
Okay, thank you, Edward. Thank you. Rita, I would like to ask to you the same question. Checking is closing, CHEK is closing, Accor is closing, DigiCheck is closing, but we need to have a long way from the digital building permit in Europe. What do you think that is the next step, and how we can help that this journey go more better in the Europe countries?
Yeah, thank you, Maite. Thank you for the nice introduction and also for having me here. It's not an easy question, I think, because as we have heard today, there's several stakeholders involved, not just building permit municipalities or applicants. There's also technology providers and all this. But if we think about on a national scale, I would maybe suggest, based on the Accord findings, that we should have a strategy on a national level, where to start from and where to get. Many sister projects follow this kind of 4 maturity levels, from paper-based to digital and even automatic code compliance checking at some point. And I think all the countries should have a strategy where to get and when, and how to involve all the stakeholders. I think it's really important to have collaboration between all the stakeholders in order to make sure that we develop solutions that are really taken into use. And I'm very impressed by the Czech results. So thank you very much for the nice presentations, and really nice to hear that you have these free tools to be used. I will test them myself as well after this meeting. Yeah, but I would say that that's the starting point. But yeah, of course, based on Accord and also the sister project, I would say that interoperability is really important. CHEK is all about interoperability, BIM and GIS integration. And of course, even though we would have this interoperability, we need to ensure that all the architects and other designers are able to design their models in a way that we can use them. I think that's one thing that we didn't kind of touch upon today, but I noticed that you also had some learning material for the designers as well. Well, maybe that's my start for this. Maybe we'll hear what the others think about.
Yeah, Rita, I have a question, because I think one of the challenges from the digital building permit is the law, because the law is very difficult to transform to machine readable. Do you think that it's necessary to work more together in this sense, to try to convince and push to the policymaker to have more machine readable law? I think this is very difficult because it's a law, and some law are a long time working. But do you think that is a challenge?
Yeah, great question. I think that the future will hold us towards that direction, that we will have our goals and regulations written not only for humans in a text format, but also for computers as in a machine readable format. I think automation will be the future, but how to do that, how to ensure that when the regulation change, that we will have it like as smoothly as possible. As you know, as part of Accord as well, we also developed this tool to make these regulations into machine readable, but we need to utilize more AI capabilities so that it wouldn't be so much dependent on humans to do this process. But yeah, I think that will be the future in any case.
Okay, thank you. Edward, I would like to listen to you about how do you think that is the future from the digital building permit in Europe?
Well, let's say this is a really big question. Let me start from what I think it's one of the most important results of the three sister projects, that has been the collaboration. Okay, I think that I've been, as you mentioned, probably too many years. Okay, it seems to me right now I'm getting old. Okay, but the point is that I've seen many European projects. Okay, and I think that the collaboration that we have had in between or among the three sister projects has been really good. Okay, and it has paved the way. Okay, in extremely good things like building a community that was already there. Okay, and that was already backed up by people who is present today. Okay, and you all know who I'm talking about. Okay, but the Digital Building Permits Conference, for example, that happened in Barcelona. Okay, so we had the first meeting in person of all the coordinators of the three sister projects. Okay, and the people involved in Antwerp in 2023. Okay, it was I think a milestone. Okay, in getting things done. And I think that, okay, the Digital Building Permits Conference is happening in December. Okay, so it's moving along the end of the projects. This is a really good news. Okay, and as I was also mentioning in Brussels during the end, the final meeting of Accord. Okay, I think we were discussing that also with Sihan, for example. Okay, is that next week we have in the technical committee for 4.2 of CEN. Okay, we have like plenaries. Okay, twice plenaries, and also different meetings of all the working groups. And we were discussing, okay, in Paris, okay, and the idea is that next week we will try to set, actually with Angelo, it was a proposition from Angelo, okay, to discuss the possibility to generate a new working group talking about digital building permits in the technical committee for FOO2. Okay, so it's important to say we were talking about law, okay, and we were talking law should be, let's say, harmonized with the standards that we are putting in place. But it's important to mention that all the European norms that appear, okay, from CEN, okay, are mandatory, okay, in the European Union, okay, and actually it goes beyond European Union, okay, so it also includes UK, okay, or Norway, etc. Actually, the secretary is coming from the whole technical committee, and the mirror ISO committee, okay, are coming from Norway. So I think it's important, okay, to say that are, let's say, not really, let's say, tangible results, okay, but I think that the three sister projects has been putting, okay, all the, let's say, all the key stones, okay, to generate this ecosystem, this community, so we can move forward, okay, into, okay, all these lines, okay, what was discussed by or proposed by Francesca, by Rita or Leon, okay, so that we could discuss and provide to the cities, okay, to provide to the stakeholders, okay, that, as you know, in the built environment ecosystem is usually super fragmented, okay, so we really need to provide a standardized solutions, okay, and something that obviously will not compete with private developments, okay, I think it's something that we always have to be careful, okay, but will provide backbones, okay, to implement those systems, okay, through tenders and things like that, okay, so we can move into a higher digitalization, okay, and on this, okay, as the digital twin man, you know that it's difficult to me, okay, not talk about digital twins, okay, but for me, digital building permits is a key
It was my second question about the people of digital twins in the future of digital building. I think it's the key, because now the data are fragmented, and I think that the only solution is digital twins.
From me, from a point of view, yes. Okay, at the end, digital twins is at the end is a crossroad of different data. Okay, so and on this, we need to put some, let's say, some mechanisms, not being too intrusive. Okay, but at least some order. Okay, so we can keep recording, okay, all this data in some way that could be private and ethically sound. Okay, and that will provide benefits. Okay, and on this we are working, okay, in the working group 9, okay, and hopefully we will have the standard in a row, okay, as European norm, okay, because the technical report with the use cases was done last year, okay, so hopefully we will have, let's say, the first in a row, okay, in the framework of what a digital twin is in the built environment, obviously harmonized, okay, with the rest of digital twins standardization that is currently going on. Okay, and it should be also one of the use cases or application cases that we have right now in the beta semantic catalog that we are proposing in the BDTA. Okay, is the application cases of the digital building permits. Okay, so this is also another channel, okay, that could be helped for future standardization.
We trust in you, President.
No.
Thank you.
I'm here to serve. Okay, so.
Yeah, we are mature, not all. We are mature, but with young energy, so we can do it definitely. Now is the turn from the software vendor. For that, we have Anne Ferreiro. Anne is an architecture from the Polytechnic University of Madrid. She has international experience in Chicago and in Bangkok. I cannot say the city Chulalongkorn. It's a terrible word from dyslexic person, but anyway, she has been working from a lot of time in city software company, leading the develop and the tool architecture. She provides architecture and urbanist tools from different projects, and she has been working in many European projects. He's very passionate about how design technology from give tools from technical architecture possibilities. Welcome, Anne. And we have the last, but not the less important people, that is Peter Bosnam. Peter is the director and co-owner from RDF company, with a lot of expertise in mathematical, parametric geometry, optimizations, standards. He has been working in the EFSC model support group. He contributes very much in the several European projects as injections, leading work of semantic age being ontology and beer interface from cultural heritage. Very, very interesting, Peter. He's author from several papers. He is very focused on about interoperability and integration of BIM and semantic web technology. Welcome, Peter. Anne, I would like to ask to you the same question. What do you think from the software vendor perspective that is the future from the digital building permit?
Hello, everybody again. I think about various things. The first thing, I agree with Eduard that I believe that CHEK, Accor, and DigiCheck's project has created a big community, which has done a strong work on dissemination. And I believe that we have to keep this work moving, no? With the Digital Building Permit Conference, etc., and other initiatives that might appear. I think this is really important, because even if today we have here some municipalities that are aware of the benefits of this new system, of this new solution, I still believe that there is a lot of municipalities that are not aware of the benefits or using MIL models, GIS models, etc., and that we have to keep moving in that direction. I remember 7 years ago when we started to show in the municipalities the software. They didn't even know 7 years ago what was BIM. Things have changed for sure, but we have to keep going on that part. Then for the municipalities that are aware, I think they need to be brave, a little bit of bravery. We need here to start implementing these solutions. And I think that they have to understand that implementing this type of digital building permits doesn't mean that they have to erase all the current system. They have to understand that both systems can coexist, and that they will move little by little to the future. They don't need to be one thing or the other thing. Therefore, in the national or European Union level, I believe also that there's still work to do. I think we could look a lot to the energy directive and how the different energy efficiency certifications have been implemented in different countries in different ways, and that has not been a problem. But there was a directive saying that you need to move forward on this sense, on the sense of energy efficiency, and I think something similar could happen with digital building permits. Then a little bit regarding the standards and the thoughts on that Francesca had, and yeah, I think the standards need still to be developed. We saw during the development of these projects that IDS appeared in June. I feel that it was approved June last year. So there's still a lot of work to do in this sense. Also, from a software vendor perspective, all the parameters that we are creating are property sets. And I have this standardization part, no, is this check the same in Spain or in Belgium, no? And if these property sets are somehow public or available in a glossary, in a database, in a dictionary, even using building a smart dictionary, how to take advantage of maybe some common glossary, some common dictionary where we can put all this parameterization and explain the terms, etc. I think is really important. That's regarding standardization. I still think that part of the standards, for example, we were really happy in exploring ideas in the last year, but for example, we were thinking about how IDS doesn't allow operators, for example, which are really important for some of the checks in the digital building permit, in urbanism, and how this can be fulfilled with other standards that already exist, or we need to actually create something new. I think also that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Again, there's existing standards for operators, there's existing standards for a lot of things. And as we saw, the important thing, for example, with GIS and BIM standards has been, or is the coordination between those standards more than creating more properties or more capabilities, because they are well developed.
I am the feeling, Anne, I don't know if you agree with me, that we are in a very important moment, that we are the standard, but we need to go faster. And the next step for this is the integrations. How you can put the standard in the software, and how you can go to the integration, the standards in the digital building permits. I think that we have a lot to work to do there. And it's very important. For me, as a standardization body, it's very important, because if you are not the integration in a software, it's when the standard is relevant. So I think that we have a lot of work to do in this kind of things, in the integration, the standard in the digital building permit, and make more real these integrations. So thank you, because I know that your work in this part is very hard. Validation, the geometry of the digital building permit checking is really hard, very important. Do you think that we are in a moment that in some moment all will be automatic, or do you think that we need to manual revisions in the checking process?
Here, I believe, like all the urbanism is not a discipline such as structures. For example, when where you have limit values and you can pass or not pass those limit values. Urbanism, yeah, and I said it in the presentation before, is sometimes interpretable, sometimes needs explanations from the designers itself, and that is why this process sometimes is so long, because you put something and then the designer has to explain it to the technician, and then the technician goes back. So I believe even if automation is possible in a lot of things, in clear things, maximum height, that's clear, well, or not so clear. Where do you measure the maximum height? Where is your reference level if you are in a sloped terrain, etc.? I think it will require always the intervention of the designer, at least to recheck what the machine has done automatically somehow, the machine has automatically read the maximum height, but I need to know if this is measured from the reference point of the street and which height is the reference point of the street. And if there is 3 streets, which is this maximum height? I don't know, there's a lot of things there. And I think all the tools should take into account comments from the designers, the capability of introducing things manually, also of increasing the information of the BIM models and the EIS models by the designers, because at the end they are the first interested in passing the permit, in approving the permit, and they will, I think they will be willing to work a little more if then the information is so good or so put together and everything is clarified by comments, etc., that the municipality just passes the checks. No? Yeah, that's a little bit my thoughts on that.
Thank you, and congratulations for your work in the project, because I think the software vendor job has been very, very important in this project. And for you, Christian and Elisa, I think that the job is really nice. Peter, I would like to ask to you the same. What do you think that is the next from the digital building permit in Europe?
Maybe first a question from Nick. Nick Nisbet.
Okay, yeah, because he...
No, I think we have to be very careful when we talk about introducing a human in the loop. What kind of person do you think is going to volunteer to check the checking results of a 20-story building? And whether that's even a reasonable thing to ask someone to do. I think the human in the loop needs to come in validating the rules and maybe in validating the individual metrics, like what, the height of the building and some test cases and so on. But I think this constant falling back on to say, well, we'll have a human in the loop at the end to redo all the checking effectively it's not really an answer. What we have to do is to put the humans in the right place, which is in either capturing the rules or accepting them if they've been captured by some other means. The suggestion that the final building permit results are going to be checked individually by a human being, I think it's madness. It's just cruel to suggest it.
Nick, just for reference, I don't think that was my suggestion at all. Designers and architects are responsible from their buildings, are responsible by law for their buildings. If something happens after, because a machine has checked my building, I will be responsible, not the machine, not the software vendor at all. I was not suggesting that the humans have to do all the work. What I was suggesting is the humans, the architects, the designers are part of this workflow. They are an important part, and we cannot believe that they will be erased. And we cannot believe that the actual systems of the municipalities will be erased in just one day. It will take time, and we can think of methods that are in between the complete automation and the partial and the manual work. And that's what I was trying to transmit here. Not, I think saying that everything is going to be done by one button is really beautiful, but it doesn't fit reality.
Mm-hmm. Francesca, would you like to add something?
Just something very quick because we are out of time, but just wanted to mention that we can discuss about the use of AI tool and how far we rely on them and such, but in some of our experiments, we could also see that the problem was really at the source, at the real source, and it was way before any AI, because also the same problem was experienced by AI, but also by natural intelligence and human intelligence, because they had the same struggles in understanding the regulation, what was the way to solve some ambiguity, because the text was not written in a correct language or in a language that was totally unambiguous. So any kind of intelligence would have struggled with that, and that's also something that should be addressed before. And just that, and then we really have little time.
Yeah,
so please
sure.
Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry. Peter, I would like to ask to you the same question. We can finalize with your opinion about what do you think is next in Europe from the digital building permit?
Yeah, so and I will try to make it short. Three things I think are super interesting to look at in the next period, and I think based on the three projects, how do we query BIM and GIS data? So in CHEK we really focused on converting GIS data to BIM and BIM data to GIS to stay close to the application that can query the data. Other projects went more in putting the BIM and GIS data in a different technology, for example, semantic web, where then you can query the data in an homogeneous way because they're both represented in that data already. And I think this also relates to what it means for standardization. And I mean, should standardization, should OGC and Building Smart look more into representing their data in a semantic web standard, for example, or any other technology that is upcoming there? That's the first thing. That like what is the best solution there? Either conversion or convert both to a third representation and query that. The second thing we found in this project is that translation is super complicated, at least from my point of view. So of course you have the translation of the rules and the queries you would like to have checked that are written down and somehow have to be understood or rewritten in something that's machine interpretable. But you also have the data from both BIM and GIS that is limited. And I mean, you don't have all the data, even if you have an open standard that is super supported and you follow all the, you have a perfect export. It still is a certain view on the object that is limited. So you just don't have all the information that you would maybe need to validate a certain rule. So I think this part is super complicated. So I think we have both to look at the translations from the rules and validations we would like to execute, but we also have to look at the standards. What kinds of information is there? What should be? How should this be enriched? And if something is missing, how can we enrich this data in a way that we don't move the problem to the designer? Then the third point, I think for me the most important point is the scalability. So if we want to validate rules, we have to digitize them. And the question is, do we digitize them in code? So I'm creating small code blocks to execute a certain validation, or do you digitize them in some kind of formats? If you make a data model from this, I think the last point is almost impossible. And I mean, you cannot digitize everything in data model. You will also always, in my perception, need some kind of code to execute execute parts of the rules. But could we make these parts as small as possible and as generic as possible, so we can reuse them for the different rules and the different regulations that are present at different locations, at different municipalities, at different countries. So I think it would be great if somehow we could make the pieces that we really have to code, where we really have to make out as small and generic as possible, and maybe also related to topology and geometry and other parts, and model and try to model as much as possible on top of that. Maybe using Shekel or Sparkle, or maybe using other technologies, but at least make this distinction between what do you code, and make this part that you really have to code as small as possible and reusable as possible, and try to put all the other things in open standards and define it as data so it can be reused.
Thank you. Lutz, would you like to add something quickly, because we are not enough time?
Yes, just a short comment. I absolutely agree with what Peter said. There are a lot of challenges, and I would like to add a fourth one, and that's really the maturity of available city data or city model data if it comes to this urbanistic checks. We have really seen that 3D city models, as they are used nowadays, they are not accurate enough, they don't have enough details, missing windows, balconies, whatever. All these things which are required for doing this urbanistic checks are in most models not present. And that's still a big challenge, because I don't see that cities will create such detailed city models as we did for the Lisbon case for the whole area, because that's just much too much work, much too expensive. And so that still also is a challenge at a very base level of data, right? As also with the rules. The rules are also not available as data, they are available as whatever kind of distributed things. So that's maybe the fourth thing which we really should also keep in mind, that there is still a challenge with respect to the city model data.
So,
Agreed.
Thank you, Francesca, Leo, Rita, Eduard, Anne, and Peter. I think that all we are part of this digital building permit journey in Europe. So we are looking for you to continue in this journey. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Maite, for this session. And thank you also for all the contributors, not only to this session, but also to the whole event. So thank you, persons who representing the sister projects, and also from the community of practice. It was very valuable to get your insights on the current status of CHEK of digital building permits, and how the CHEK results can contribute to that, and what are the remaining challenges. So we have 10 minutes left, and it would be nice to get some input from the audience. So I would like to ask you what was the most valuable insight you gained from this event, and can you please share that either in the chat, or open your microphone and share it with us. I cannot see the Teams interface at this moment, so maybe if someone else can look for the answers in the chat, or maybe if someone raised his or her hand. Or I can also. So the question is, what was the most valuable insight you gained from this event? I don't see any messages appearing in the chat, so I'm not sure. People are tired. So Rita, thank you. So you will look at the CHEK e-learning hub for the courses available.
It's John from BSI. I thought it was a lovely overview of everything that's been achieved, what's available, how to access the information, and the files and the documentation that's been produced. So yeah, well done. Good session.
Thank you. Okay, maybe I go to the next question, because that also aligns to the discussion that we just had, and that is what is the most challenging aspects of digital building permits in practice? So after you have seen all the results and the discussion, and also the people raising questions, so what is the most challenging part of implementing digital building permits in practice, looking at the results that are already available?
I think it still is data which is fit for purpose. I mean, there's just too much challenges on the data level still.
Okay. Yeah, and there's so many data sources involved that there's quite some challenges ahead, I guess. Nicolas, you want to share something?
Yeah, if we have a system that works, the data will follow because people want faster validation of their designs, pre-submittal and formally. I think the real challenge is finding an efficient way of capturing the content of the rules, which is what I've been working on for some time, in a way that is convincing to people. I worked on the Singapore system 20 years ago, 25 years ago now, and people just didn't believe the results. This was in a community that was very well aware of computerization as an idea. I think in a society where there's a lot more skepticism, I think we have to think about how do we convince people the rules are correct, bearing in mind that any individual regulation probably has 100 or 1,000 individual metrics, so you can't test anything exhaustively. So there's a question of just how do you convince people, and I've sat in a room of UK regulators demonstrating automatic regulatory compliance, and the regulators just walked out saying this whole thing is a fake. They just didn't believe it was in any way possible or realistic. They didn't walk out during the presentation. They walked out at the end and didn't come back. But and so on. So I think it's that credibility that is the big challenge. And we're all computer people, and we're willing to be convinced. I don't think that's representative of the audience for this work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there are some municipalities in the audience. So, and also it was also raised in one of the sessions that the implementation in municipalities is quite challenging because of the existing processes, but also people need to be skilled and indeed need to learn how, and also we need to have experience how digital processes work that that replace analog processes and which humans can interpret the data and make the decisions.
I think the suggestion that ordinary people are going to approve a SPARQL query or a SQL query or any of those things is unrealistic. I've heard that suggested, oh, look, it's a SPARQL query, therefore it's transparent. I think you have to go and ask someone out on the street if SPARQL is transparent.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and we also hear with people from many countries, which is also quite challenging to develop solutions that work everywhere in Europe, but also beyond that. We have a more complete survey prepared. Orjola did that from Fraunhofer Institute, and we would like you to complete the survey. We will also share the link later on with all the materials that were presented today. So I already show it to you now so that you are aware that this will come towards you. So with that from my side, I would like to thank the audience and the speakers, and I would like to hand over to Francesca for the final words of this event.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for participating. I'm very happy of the discussions and of the key points that were really highlighted during these discussions and presentations and events. So I hope to meet you in person in Vienna, maybe in December. That's also my first travel from a long time, so it will be double exciting. I invite you to follow the latest developments of checks and results publication in our website, and to stay in touch in the UNET for DBP or through other events and initiatives. So before really closing the event, and after saying you goodbye, I would like to still play the video that is summarizing the latest CHEK developments for the ones of you that are still willing to stay and interested in that. And thank you very much to all of you for participating. I'm try to share it. Just a moment. Okay. Okay, here it is. And
across Europe, building permits are still paper-based, slow, and unclear. This costs time, creates errors, and reduces trust in municipalities. The CHEK project, funded by Horizon 2020, set out to change this by creating a digital building permit process that is faster, transparent, and scalable across Europe. CHEK, Change Toolkit for digital building permits, brings together municipalities, universities, designers, and technology providers. Our goal is to align technology with real permit processes, use open standards, and provide a toolkit that any city can adopt. CHEK is built on 5 innovation pillars. Process, a digital process map that guides applicants, designers, and municipalities. Technology, new tools for validation, rule checking, and IFC CTJML conversions. Interoperability, ensuring data flows seamlessly with open standards like IFC, CTJML, and Open API. Scalability, tested in 4 pilot cities from Italy, Portugal, and Czechia, proving solutions can adapt to any size municipality. Upskilling, training officers, designers, and students through MOOCs and practical workshops, preparing Europe's construction sector for the future. The CHEK Toolkit delivers tangible results for municipalities and designers. Digital process map, guiding the workflow from applicant to designer and designer to municipality, replacing paper-based steps. A process management platform acting as a common data environment with version tracking, validation, and secure digital signatures. A suite of compliance checking tools seamlessly connected through Open API, SciP Urban, and OpenBin accessibility to check zoning rules, building codes, and accessibility. Verify 3D, a browser-based checker for being compliant. Virtual City System, VC Map plugin, to verify urban rules such as building height, setbacks, shadows, and view sheds. Interoperability tools, IFC validator and CTJML validator. Ensuring data quality, IFC post-processor fixing model exports. GeoBIM converters, enabling smooth integration between building models and 3D models, making GeoBIM a reality. Training programs, including practice-oriented sessions for municipalities and designers, technical scientific courses, and massive open online courses, ensuring upskilling across Europe's construction value chain. Together, these solutions increase efficiency by more than 60%, reduce errors, and can be adopted by up to 85% of municipalities in Europe. CHEK proves that digital building permits are no longer a future vision. They are happening now. By aligning processes, technology, and people, CHEK supports Europe's Green Deal, renovation wave, and smarter, safer, more sustainable cities. Discover the toolkit, results, and training at checkdpp.eu.
So that's a nice way to say goodbye to all of you, and hope to see you in the future, because there are quite some challenges ahead, and I'm sure that we will meet you on several occasions. Thank you.
Hope indeed we don't lose the
Thank
community.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much,
a lot.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.